Hello, my name is Sue Haines and I'm Assistant Director of Nursing at Nottingham University Hospitals and lead the Institute of Nursing and Midwifery Care Excellence. I'd like to talk to you about our developing professional leadership approach, staff nurse representation on Nursing and Midwifery Board. Nottingham University Hospitals is a large acute NHS trust in the Midlands, United Kingdom. It has over 4,500 registered nursing midwives and 16,000 staff in total, serving the local population and regional specialties, maternity and the children's hospitals. In this presentation, I would like to discuss shared governance as a model of nursing leadership, share learning specifically from a model that includes representation of staff nurse midwives on a Trust Nursing and Midwifery Board professional decision-making committee, and share some examples of staff nurses' experiences, outline our initial evaluation, learning and next steps. So why shared governance at NUH? Well, in 2012 the annual staff survey and consultation events with staff nurses identified there was a lack of professional autonomy, a lack of recognition of nurses and many top-down improvement initiatives. So we looked to the literature, evidence and organisations internationally to learn from those who had high levels of staff satisfaction, staff engagement and empowerment, and identified shared governance as a model of nursing leadership. Shared governance is also known as shared leadership and shared decision making. It puts frontline staff at the heart of a decision making process and sees ward and unit managers taking a facilitative role. It was also used in business in the 1780s and to aid recruitment and retention, and has been used by global companies including Google, Facebook and John Lewis. Shared governance is about valuing frontline staff who work with their patients on a day-to-day basis as experts in their care, utilising that professional expertise for the benefit of patients, families and carers. So, we began with one council. B3 was our first council, was supported as part of a Foundation of Nursing Studies Practice-Based Development and Research Programme 2012-13. The project identified how utilising the skills and knowledge of a group of frontline staff to implement and change practice at ward level through the development of a unit practice council can enhance the patient experience and be an effective way of developing and empowering frontline staff. And now in 2020 we have over 90 councils. The aims of staff nurse midwife representation on Nursing and Midwifery Board were to develop the existing shared governance model of nursing leadership to the next level of decision making, bring greater voice of direct care clinical nurses to discussions and decision making at trust level, and develop the skills of those frontline staff nurses and midwives that constitute the majority of direct care professional workforce in the trust, improving two-way communication ward to board. Here is a detailed outline of our structure after 8 years of development of our shared governance model. The yellow star indicates where in our meetings hierarchy our Nursing and Midwifery Board sits. This is the highest professional committee in the Trust, chaired by the Chief Nurse, reporting into our Trust Management and Trust Board. So, staff nurses and midwives on Nursing and Midwifery Board commenced October 2018. 11 representatives were sought from across divisions, volunteers, including the chair of our Black, Asian and Minority Ethnic Shared Governance Council. Representatives received Nursing and Midwifery Board papers in advance, like all other committee members. They were encouraged to meet with their divisional nurse lead and to agree mechanisms of cascade communication back within their divisions. We originally aimed for a 6-month rotating membership, but then developed rapidly onto understanding a 1-year rotational membership was more beneficial to enable proper, clear professional development. 2 representatives were nominated from each division to ensure cover for annual leave, and I'd like to share with you now the experience of these nurses who are in the first group of staff nurses who joined Nursing and Midwifery Board back in 2018. They pioneered this new role, and the first one being Oni Enwezo. Oni Enwezo worked in theatres and is also Deputy Chair of our BAME Shared Governance Council.
My name is Oni Enwezo. I currently work as a shared governance clinical educator, and I am one of those that was privileged to be part of the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Nottingham University Hospitals. So my divisional nurse at the time, Scott Purser, asked if anyone was interested to join, to be a representative for the clinical support division of Nottingham University Hospitals. And I put in an expression of interest, and I was truly humbled to have been selected to represent my division. So as part of my role, I was a fully fledged voting member for my division. I would sit with the chief nurse, the deputy chief nurses, and the assistant directors of nursing, and all the divisional nurses and senior nurses within the trust. We do have professional debates, which we were allowed to partake in. We had to see how the divisions managed their staff, the sicknesses, the nursing performances as well. It was a real eye-opener as to what happens strategically, which I would never had known until I became a senior nurse myself. But attending and having partaken in these meetings gave me a greater insight as to what was required of me when I would become a senior nurse. I also had the opportunity of shadowing the chief nurse when she went on external conferences. Our chief nurse, Mandy Sunderland, took me to the Nursing Times conference last year in London. I was actually the most junior person in that meeting, but this is one of the privileges that I fortunately was able to get by being part of Nursing and Midwifery Board. I was also able to represent the Black, Asian and ethnic minority within the trust. Our voices are now being heard. We are being invited to the table, and I would say it's been one of the greatest experiences for me, and I would encourage anyone who is interested to put in that expression of interest and get the experience.
The first two meetings gave insight to the staff nurses on the agendas and some of the professional and management terms utilised readily in trust level meetings, but these were very alien to the staff nurses. All Nursing and Midwifery Board members are party to sensitive and sometimes confidential information. Understanding this and yet being able to ask questions, seek clarification and discuss any points of concern were important skills development. This really helped to illustrate the gap that can grow between trust level decision making committees and the voice of the direct care nurse and midwives. How communication and information cascading can get lost within a large organisation. And we sought opportunities to clarify boundaries and discuss what staff nurses could contribute to these meetings. As a result, pre and post meetings commenced, led by myself and the Deputy Chief Nurse. Pre-meeting ran through preparation of papers, questions and queries that members might have. Post-meeting included time for reflection, discussion on what had been learned, masterclasses also on professional issues which were needs-led, dependent on the staff nurse's needs. These included nursing establishment review, safer staffing, understanding risk assessments and understanding terms of reference. I'd like to introduce Sarah Davis. Sarah started as staff nurse on B3 Council and was chair of the Cardiology Council and now leads our shared governance education team.
Hello, my name is Sarah Davis and I was a staff nurse that was representing medicine on our Nursing and Midwifery Board. It was important to me to be on Nursing and Midwifery Board and take up that opportunity because I felt that would give me the opportunity to understand the organisation that I worked in better, as well as representing my division. And it also meant that I could see what discussions were taking place within this meeting. In terms of my professional leadership skills, it developed particularly my professional debate ability, and having that exposure and experience of seeing professional debate in action and what sort of points might be made in that discussion. It also developed my agenda making skills, essentially I suppose mimicking what I was seeing, so again that exposure and seeing what's in front of you and recreating it in a professional manner. Also developed my meeting etiquette skills because, again, as a clinical nurse, that's not something that you sit in on a regular basis, and also gave me a new confidence in challenging, especially seeing professional debate and that discussion taking place. I would say that my key learning and observations coming away from this experience have been developing relationships with our senior leaders within the organisation, and seeing them as real people. I've often described that as a frontline member of staff, you feel that your senior leaders, sometimes it can be that they are, or feel that they are untouchable, and it very much changed the perspective and my personal feeling on this by having access to these people on a regular basis. It also developed my understanding of why. The why of the organisation, why we do things the way we do, why we have to do things the way we do with certain issues. And then finally, on touching that subject, the legal obligations and organisational obligations that I started to understand far better through being at Nursing and Midwifery Board and attending those meetings every month. Thank you. Bye.
2 years on, staff nurses and midwives have been influencing and changing decisions on policy and practice as a result of being on Midwifery Board. 6 out of 11 have moved on to more senior roles in their professional career. They report greater confidence in professional leadership, questioning skills, debate, and it's evident that there's been an inclusive approach to talent development from the experience that they have undergone. Rebecca Barrett was a staff nurse in ambulatory care and has now become a shared governance clinical educator.
So why was being a staff representative on the Nursing and Midwifery Board important to me? Well, firstly, it gave me a really lot of personal interest. I didn't really know what nurse managers did, and this was a really good, important way of finding out about how they functioned and how the hospital worked, really. I don't think we prepare nurses really much for management. We do the course and it's all about nursing, but I think there's an awful lot of terminology like headroom and processes like taking minutes, running a formal meeting, that we really never get to find about how these work. So for me, I like learning by doing, and things like watching how people work on the Nursing and Midwifery Board really helped. A lot of us did the Edward Jenner course as well, so it sort of put theory into practice, if you like. So I think actually, if you want nurses like me to have a seat at the table, to do things like sit on nice committees and the commissioning group, it's all really quite a scary jump. So I think if you start to mentor and encourage nurses to feel comfortable in these sort of groups, then you'll grow people who have an interest and be able to feel that they can actually take part as well. And I think it's really important to get that nursing representation through into decision-making positions, so we can equip nurses to be able to take part and have our voices really heard. So as a result of actually taking part in this programme and getting me to sit on a Nursing and Midwifery Board, I actually started to get more confident, and I then applied for another position because it actually really refreshed my interest in nursing and sparked interest in other areas I didn't really had given much thought to.
We are now just completing a second year of office, and staff nurses and midwives are being nominated to take over the roles. The role profile has been strengthened, and new members are invited to be buddied up with outgoing members for a couple of meetings to introduce them and provide support. Further emphasis on the importance of a consistent connection with the divisional nurse to ensure communication, and the importance of pre and post briefings for professional leadership development. Formal evaluation was halted due to the pandemic, but it is now underway. Our key learning throughout this professional leadership development programme is that this is a culture change, not a project. I'd like to sincerely thank my colleagues, Oni, Rebecca and Sarah, who shared their stories and have achieved so much through taking up this professional leadership development opportunity, and to all the other new staff nurses that are starting on our Nursing and Midwifery Board currently. Thank you to you all, and thank you for listening.